Are you chasing that high of praise? Are you chasing that high of perhaps friends and family looking at you with pride and adoration for the things that you've accomplished? Or are you chasing the excitement and the raw energy of pure curiosity? G'day, mate. And how the bloody hell are you? Welcome to In the Back of My Head podcast, episode 79. It's a creative journal where I ramble on about creativity, whatever's in the back of my head, about whatever's holding me back, about whatever's pushing me forward, trying to be creative in any capacity. I was going to say a creative, but I'm just going to say just being creative. What is currently rattling around in my head that is affecting that. Hopefully you get something out of this. If you do, bloody fantastic. And if you don't, hey, don't worry about it. There's a bazillion choices on YouTube and anywhere else to get your little kicks. Ooh! Your little podcast hit that might inspire you or at least push you or just like clarify something that allows you to put pen to paper, put in some time practicing, have that next vision come into your head that will be a video or a painting or a poem. I think I've done this a few times. Where I've made an episode about the post-release blues. And I don't mean releasing as in like throwing something up online or anything like that, but post-release of like a post-launch blues of when there's actually like a physical celebration, physical social gathering surrounding a piece of work. For me, it really hits me. For me, it really drains every ounce of energy that I have available for not just creativity, but just for being, just for hanging out. It's only been a week. It's only been a week since I did a little EP launch with my mate Jason. We launched our EP Frog Cult. We call ourselves Melbourne Sympathy Orchestra. It's very silly. It's very wordy, nerdy, cult rap. And I liked making it a lot. God, it was fun making it. And it was fun launching it as well. Don't get me wrong. I had a lot of fun launching it. Putting it out there, performing on stage with Jason. That was bloody brilliant. And again, it's only been a week. It's on its way to 2. And in that time, I felt really quite down, really quite depressed, as I always do after a launch. And I can say for certain that it's a different experience than launching something softly, just letting it drift off into the ether, like a little paper boat on a stream and saying, good luck to you, son. I hope that you have a lovely journey, and I hope that somebody finds you and enjoys you. I hope that they unravel you and find a nice little tale that I've written for them. Perhaps a poem, perhaps an EP, perhaps a podcast, whatever. Everything that I make that goes up online is just this little boat that I send down a stream, and hopefully somebody picks it up. They go, oh, what is this? Amongst the million other little paper boats floating down that stream. We're completely clogging up the waterways with our little paper boats of podcasts and YouTube content and TikToks and music and what have you, essays. And when I let a boat drift off, that's fine. It feels very normal. Perhaps it's also just down to repetition. I've just done that a squillion times. But when launching it physically in a room of people that are looking up at you, has a very different feeling. And perhaps because those two are active and passive way of approaching it. The soft launch is letting that little boat float down the stream. And so then it's at the whims of the current. It's at the whims of whoever happens to find it, and you also won't know. You won't know who's standing upon the banks further downstream, perhaps even across oceans. Who knows how far it might go. Of course, in this particular case, I'm speaking about putting it online, so you will know to a degree. You'll get little notifications if somebody's liked your thing. Somebody, in fact, commented on that thing saying, oh, I love this so very much. This is fantastic. But realistically, that's not the case. I've had people tell me years after I put out a thing, like, hey, by the way, that thing that you put out years ago, I love that. I've listened to that a lot. Or I've heard through third parties. I've heard, oh yeah, my mate loves that thing that you made. He listens to it all the time. He thinks it's bloody brilliant. And I say, oh, they should tell me. They should tell me that. That'd be nice. It doesn't matter. It's not for the praise that you're doing it anyway. It's not for the... It's so rewarding to see people enjoying the things that you make. It is so rewarding, but it's not the reason why you keep coming back to making stuff. And this is going to tie in, I think, to 2 episodes ago talking about why make art? As in, why do you in particular make art? Oh, I think about that question, like answering that question. I've been really thinking on it as of late. And in the depression, and granted, it's a small window of feeling quite down, but it's not just like I'm not sad. I'm not like, oh, woe is me. Oh, nothing has gone my way. Everything has gone my way. Everything went well. That's the beautiful thing about it, and also the ridiculous thing about it. The feeling that I have is actually more one of, it's simply a lack of energy. It's that feeling when you're in bed and you're like, I don't feel bad. I don't feel sad, but I certainly don't feel like getting out of this bed and facing the world either. I don't even have an anticipation of what the world's going to throw at me today. I don't have really any qualms with what's happening around in my life, but I also can't face it. That's kind of the feeling that I have, and I always have that post-launch. There is the possibility that that is simply social batteries completely drained, but I feel like there's more to it than that. Certainly more to it than that. It's an emotional expenditure. It is a huge emotional ordeal to take yourself through, I find. And like, oh, woe is me. It's not a big deal at all. It's not a big deal. And it's also like, you're doing the thing that you like, mate. You're doing the thing that you love. And you feel a bit glum about it. Go and make a podcast episode about it. But I think the thing that really gets me is it's the switching of the modes, because I'm trying to get back. Because I asked the question at the start, what are you chasing? Are you chasing that praise? I love being on stage. Like, I really enjoy being on stage and that moment of not knowing what's going to come out of your mouth. I mean, you have rehearsed your material. So you know your material, that's your foundation. But then at the same time, it's live and it's happening right now. So you might mess up something, or you might have to freestyle your way out of something, or there's a little bit of downtime and you just need to chat with the audience and you have not prepared anything. You haven't got your go-tos. Hey, where are you from? You're from Colorado. Wow, tell me all about that. I don't do it. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not doing any crowd work. I'm just running my mouth, talking shit about the songs or about whatever else comes into my head. And those are my favorite moments. It's exactly like recording this podcast. I've got like little snippets, little leaflets of paper that I've collected. In this particular case, it's on a screen in front of me of thoughts around this topic. And when I'm on stage, it's just bits and pieces that I've collected in my brain. And I enjoy unraveling them and presenting them in a random, collated way, chaotically, to the audience in that moment. And there's less time to think. There's less time to get in your own way. That's one of my favorite things. And yet, at the same bloody time, it's deeply exhausting, it's deeply consuming, and it is not enough to drive me to go back to it every day. I've got mates who are in the poetry scene, in the comedy scene. I've got mates in the music scene, but I see it less. I see it a lot in the comedy scene, and to a lesser extent in the poetry scene, of people who are addicted to writing, yes, but I feel more addicted than anything else to the stage and to the hot mic. And I wonder if it's the same thing I'm talking about. It's a moment of clarity. It's a moment of pure nowness, if we want to be all spiritual about it. You're really one with the moment when you're up on stage. You can phase out to a degree, but to a much lesser extent than when you're standing in line at the supermarket. There's not as much time to be thinking when you're on stage. And I see people addicted to that as I could be potentially in another life. And I see them going to it every single day. I see people who are on the mic multiple times a night, 4 times a week. And I'll maybe do it once. Maybe once a week, maybe once a month. And every time I'm like, this is bloody brilliant, this is my favourite thing. But it's not enough to draw me back. But what does draw me back is the space that I inhabit now. And when I spoke about the reasons you create, the reasons you make art, you in particular, me staring back at myself in this phone, is that curiosity. It is this particular space currently, this physical space, being in here is a space of mine where I get to just let my mind run in as many different directions as it wants to and give it that freedom, give it that support to explore whatever the fuck it wants. And that is 100% what I am chasing. That is 100% where I want to be at all times. I think that's the feeling that I'm addicted to. That feeling of having an idea or finding something that triggers you in a way that you're just like, oh, I must know everything about this thing. If you've drunkenly gone down a rabbit hole of Wikipedia pages, then you know what I'm talking about. If you've gotten to the end of the day and you've forgotten to eat anything because you were so consumed by this one idea, then you know what I'm talking about. It's absolutely intoxicating, that feeling. And it too is a sense of flow, a sense of nowness. That is, to me though, the most intoxicating version of that. That feeling where you don't feel like even that you are guiding this journey, you are just along for the ride. In that particular case, perhaps I am the paper boat, perhaps not on a stream, but a mighty ocean, carried by currents from distant lands. And how do you get to that? How do you find yourself in that state of flow? Because it's not productivity. In fact, trying to be super productive in that space usually kills it, which I have done to myself with my use of calendars and to-do lists and Millernote and what have you. Millernote's actually acting as my scrapbook, as discussed a few episodes back, but still there's a level of organization that I have imposed upon myself in order to run things like my creative collective, Vibe Union and stuff like that, which bloody brilliant. But it can inhibit that intoxicating feeling of flow and curiosity. Childlike. It's very childlike, that curiosity, where you have gotten all the responsibility. You've not given up responsibility, but for the time being, it's out of the back of your head. It's gone. You're not thinking about it. You're only thinking about reading the next line. And how do you get there? And I think, though I say organization maybe can kill that, in the same sense, I do think routine can breed that, or does breed that. Certainly aids in it. I feel on this point before again, but nonetheless, something that Alan Moore hit on was that, of course you're chasing that. Of course you're chasing that. That's the thing that makes this exciting and worthwhile doing, is those moments where it just pours out of you or your curiosity takes you in whatever direction you so desire. But that doesn't always hit. You can't rely on it. It's not always going to be there for you. And so the only thing you can really do is put yourself in that space where it is more likely to happen. To quote someone else, Rick Rubin said, the goal is not to be creative, the goal is to create a life where creativity is inevitable. And I feel that's the routine, that's the space that you inhabit, is those things that you can do, that you can put in place that will give you the highest possibility of finding that sense of flow and that sense of curiosity and that sense of creativity once again. And I think once you've gone through though the many stages of creating a thing, where it starts off as that initial idea, oh, you're very, very excited, and then there's usually a big plateau. There's that first initial piece, that first initial drive of creativity, and then there's this plateau of when you're actually kind of making the thing, and there's little bursts of energy throughout all of that. But it's nothing like the start. It's nothing like the start. It'll never be the start. It'll never be that first idea, that first wave of excitement. It'll never be that. It'll be little bursts, and it's great. Actually, like that's kind of the best part in a sense, because though you are chasing that initial excitement, for me personally, though you're chasing that initial excitement, that work in the middle is much more sustainable. That's much more like, that's a nice quiet life. That's easy. It's less manic. It's way less manic than that initial burst. And the initial burst is fun, but it's also, you're high. You're genuinely like high, which is intense. It's great, but it's intense, and you can't maintain that. It's like a big party. It's like having one giant party, and then the next week you're just kind of fucked. But if you have a couple of glasses of wine every night and you just kind of chill out, you can maintain that lifestyle for a long time. Does that make sense? That's kind of where my head's at when it comes to drinking, but so too with creativity. And then there's the end, and I think the end, you peak again a little bit. I like that moment when you package everything together and you present it, when you've got the album artwork, when you've got the music, when you've got the lyrics, everything's done, everything's uploaded, everything's going out, and the people are now in the room and you're about to present the work to them. It's all packaged up nicely. It's finished. It's done. You've done the thing. And now here it is. And now people are listening to it or witnessing it, watching it, whatever. That's a very exciting moment. But that crash, the calm after that crash of the wave, leaves nothing for me. Because it's done. Now you have to start again. You're at a crossroads. I think that could be kind of what I feel at this point. Because you had this really clear goal, you had this real clear sense of direction of what you're supposed to be doing, and especially that last part. The first part is exciting, but that last part, everything is laid out before you. You know the steps you have to take now. You're just going through the motions, realistically. In this particular case of an EP, you must draw the artwork, you must upload the artwork, you must upload the music to the distributing services. You must create the event. You must practice your lines. Practice your lines. And that was the thing that I did the most of over the past month, was practice my lines, which I haven't rehearsed anything properly in quite a while, maybe a year since I've launched anything. I haven't really rapped on stage very much. I haven't really done a lot on stage besides in the band. And so rehearsal, that was nice and easy. Again, it's just clean, it's simple, it's just rehearse your lines, learn your lines, and then you're done, ready. And now, the thing's done, and now I'm back at a crossroads of, I start again now. I start again. But when you're ready to start again and that spark doesn't come to you immediately, it's kind of devastating. Because you want that creativity, you want that spark, you want that initial burst of excitement and curiosity. And if it's not quite there, especially if you're someone like myself who expends all of their energy on those big social moments like launching a thing or having, I don't know, a birthday party or something like that, that feels quite similar to me. An album launch and a birthday party are both lovely and two of my least favorite things in the world. There's all this kind of focus, attention on you, as well as this huge social and endurance race you must run through the night, and at the end, I got nothing left for any of you. Please leave me alone. And so you want to crawl back to your hovel, to your grotto, to your little cave, and return to the mode that you know best and that you love deeply, and doesn't come. That's devastating. You feel lost. You feel quite almost like you're reinventing yourself. I know this is dramatic. I know this is overly dramatic for just putting out a project and then returning to whatever you want to do next, but I feel like we all experience that to a certain degree over many things in our lives. It's a loss of sense of self to a degree. Not that you actually purely identify with one thing, but your mind becomes focused on a thing, and then when that thing's done, you go, oh. Wait, who am I again? What am I supposed to be? What do I do next? Hang on, what do I do now? Perhaps especially when, this isn't a career. I'm not building to anything. Every little project is just kind of, that's the thing, that it's done now. I'm not building to a giant goal. I don't have any lofty goal that I'm really working towards. Nothing in like a more tangible sense that I can actually lay down the steps in order to get there. It's kind of just whatever the next project is, I have to finish that project and then start again. And so there is a sense of like, oh, fuck, where do I go now? And so it kind of brings me to the other side of this that I just wanted to talk about that I think you'll probably relate to as well, is that when you do have that downtime, it's bloody hard to rest. And I was thinking about putting out work like this, and putting out work in this day and age where it's easier than ever, and those landmarks of releasing a large project or what have you is, I would maybe say it is diminished in terms of importance in the way that we perceive them. And so, how do I mean? I mean like, putting out a project is kind of like, cool man, when's the next one? And this is also self-imposed. This is all self-imposed. None of this is meaningful. None of this is actually real. This is all self-imposed. But the way that we present work and consume work and yada yada with all the social media and just the way that society works, I think at the moment, it is both self-imposed, but it's also kind of an internalization of the world that we see in front of us, so that when it comes to putting out something like that, a project, an EP in this case, or an album, or a book, or a painting, or a play, or whatever, or a movie, whatever, then there's the question of what's the next thing? And so when you've got your downtime, then you're like, well, fuck, I should start working on the next thing. Even though what you really should probably be doing is resting. Again, it's doing the relaxing, chill thing that I love, which is just making art. So, it's really not that big of a deal. But I see it in people that, when they don't have a lot of time on their hands, when they work a full-time job, and perhaps that job entails a lot of overtime and yada yada, and then finally they got some time. They go on a little holiday to try and chill out, recharge some batteries, and then they come back and they go, that expended all my energy as well. So now I come back and I'm going back to the project and I got no time. I actually need real rest. Real rest. And it's really hard to actually offer yourself that time, to give yourself that time, to look at yourself in the mirror and say, literally just chill out. Don't do anything. Don't do anything. Nothing of importance. Play some video games. Read a book. Watch a movie. Go for a walk. Have a cup of tea, mate. Literally just chill the fuck out for a second. If you've expelled all this energy, then trying to get back to, I don't know, in this particular case, it could be seen as a side hustle, Oh, I should be drawing more. I should be putting it up on Instagram. Or I should be working on the next project. I should be recording a podcast. Or at least writing a script for a podcast. And that's what I did. But I know, even as I do this, even as I say this, that what I actually need is rest. And I have a lot of time on my hands. I have more time on my hands than anybody else I know. But the way that I treat it in my head is that is time that should be spent working. And I feel very privileged that I get to do that and just use it to make stuff. However, at the same time, I think that rest is, it's not time, it's the allowance. It is the rest is the permission that you give yourself to just exist. That's it. That's all you have to do. Just exist. Don't do anything else. You don't need to do anything else. You just have to exist right now. You can have the quietest little time of your life, but if you're in your head, you are saying to yourself constantly you should be working, then that's not rest. And it's not going to work. It'll work to a degree. It'll heal your bones. It'll heal your weary bones. It might be a chance to get back on top of your diet, drink a little less, do whatever you fucking want. Maybe you'll feel physically better, but if you don't offer yourself mentally that space and spiritually that space, then the rest is just not going to take effect. It's not real rest. And I'm fucking terrible at actual real rest. Totally just sit and read. I'm trying to do that more. I'm like, I don't really feel like doing anything. So sit and read. Just sit and read, mate. It'll come back. It's going to come back. That little spark. That little creative drive. It's going to be back. It's going to be back maybe tomorrow. Might be back later today. I don't know. There's no telling. But I did one thing today that reminded me of a common tactic that I use in these moments, and another reason that I thought of when in the previous episode, maybe like 2 episodes back, I asked the question, why do you make art? In response to an AI music company. And a few of those reasons were to really say something. You've actually got something to say? Fucking brilliant. Great. Do that. Make art for that reason. Another one was curiosity. You're curious and you just need to do that. Sweet. Good. Do that. Make art for that reason. And a third is just because you like the craft. Because you just love being a guitar player, so you want to play guitar. Good. Do that. That's why you should be making art. And then I thought of a fourth reason that is going to kickstart me back a little bit here, I think, because as I say, I've got no batteries and I am struggling to rest. I'm struggling to like give myself that space. And then I was like, well, what was really good about making that EP? And I was working with Jason. I was working with my mate. And it's the important part of collaboration is obviously not working necessarily with the best, though I think Jason is one of the best writers that I know. But I would say for him and for myself, there's better rappers in Melbourne. I don't know if there's better writers, at least in terms of the style that I like. There's better writers for more traditional hip-hop, but like Jason matches my interest in the obscure, the weird, the abstract, and we'll go down these dumb little paths and these silly ideas, and we'll just have fun with it. And so that EP really represented that to me. This EP that I just dropped, Frog Cult, as Melbourne Symphony Orchestra with Jason, just represented us just geeking out on writing and having fun, making stuff, and making each other laugh, like just calling it Frog Cult and referencing Frog Jesus and stuff like this. It's just dumb. It's dumb and it's fun. And that made me very excited. And so that's a damn good reason to make art. So I'm adding a fourth really good reason to make art is just to hang out with people. Just to be around people. Give yourself an excuse to hang out with people. And it also means that, yeah, when you don't quite have the juice, when you haven't got the energy, you haven't got the batteries, that hanging out with some people in a creative manner, though, will often bring it out of you because you can feed off their energy. It's still a social battery that you might run out on, but at the same time, because you have a goal, with a clear set goal together, I find that a lot easier to just like keep moving, bouncing off each other and using each other's energy. And so the thing that I did was I simply said, hey, we should book a date in a few weeks to just like have a chat about the next project. Our next project, or Vibe Union's next project, whatever. Talk about the next project. Set that date. Simple. So there we go. I'm locking into a bit of a schedule, and I'm also focusing in that particular case on working with someone that I want to work with. Same with the band. Anytime when I'm with the band, I could feel no creativity in my personal life. As soon as I'm hanging out with the band, hey man, I'm here. I'm here. This is fun. This is great. I'll do this all goddamn day. If nothing else, yeah, making art just to hang out with people is a damn bloody good reason, and a damn good way out of this little pit of despair that you get yourself into sometimes. It could be for any reason. It doesn't have to be launching something like I have myself in this particular case. You might have done it other ways. Gotten yourself into a little pit of, oh, how do I get back? What am I doing? What am I actually doing? What am I actually making? Go have a chat with someone. Go hang out with someone. It's not the only solution, but it's the solution I've arrived at today. There's a ramble. There's a more of a rambly one. I said to myself that I want to put more time and effort into the scripts of these podcasts to really elevate it, give it more focus. And I want to do that, but I also realized that I also need to let certain episodes just be me voicing whatever's in my head. That's important. It was the original point of this podcast, and it will continue to be so. But you can have multiple reasons to do this thing. So I'll keep working on those bigger scripts about authenticity and sincerity in art. But for the time being, I'm in a bit of a rut. And I'll be alright next week, I'm sure. I hope you got anything out of that. Keep making shit, mate. See you on the next one, eh?